What's up, y'all? What's good? Welcome to the What Up Though Show. It's your boy Damn D, and I am back with another one. Today, I'm going to be joined by a guest. I got a few people that I'm going to be inviting in to join this conversation. We got more evidence that Karmelo Anthony will get a retrial. His judge has been removed from the bench. I have a guest. Go ahead, Big Dog, and introduce yourself to the show.
This is Big Hen from the 313. What up, though?
What up, though? What up? What up, though? What up, though? Welcome back to the show. Welcome back, man. Yeah, this has been coming through my feed. A lot of people have been talking about this today. It's been pretty much, the buzz and news on social media today. It's been video has been leaked and video has been shown that Karmelo Anthony was attacked. He was surrounded by 5 young men. They jumped him. He defended himself. The judge knew this. The judge stepped down. He was removed from the bench. And it's just a lot of, a lot of unanswered questions. But I have audio and video of this video I'm getting ready to show. And then we'll get back to commentary. So give me 1 second and I'm getting ready to show this video. So here we go. Hold on. But yeah, man, I couldn't believe this. I'm like, we knew all of us the whole time he was getting railroaded. If I can find this video, where's the video? I got it set up. Wow, give me a second because I know the video was right here. I just had it on point. Got it right here. I don't know why it's not showing. So yeah, give me I'm trying to find a bit of video, Big Ken. Give me your thoughts, man. Give me your opinion on what you heard thus far about this opinion on this judge, man. Knowing all this evidence, knowing that he was attacked, they showed that he was literally attacked. Just bear with me for 1 second. I don't know why this video is not playing, but here we go. Right here, here we go, Big Ken.
Judge knew that there were red flags and did not allow evidence submitted that would have exonerated Karmelo Anthony. This judge kept evidence from being submitted, which is unlawful conduct, knowing unlawful conduct, let alone the fact that the judge did not raise red flags in such a high racially profile case when he was aware that it was an all-white jury. This should have been a red flag immediately. Cannot happen. In the court system is not being at least one person of color on that jury. He is totally liable. The judge is. Mr. Anthony was defending himself from 5 attackers. The parts of the video that people have not seen, and there are other videos out there from other kids that were recording, they will surface, believe you me. But there was enough there to prove that it was self-defense. God loves you. I love you.
And I'm gonna let the video play again.
In the Anthony case, to move. This judge knew that there were red flags and did not allow evidence submitted that would have. This judge kept evidence from being submitted, which is unlawful conduct, knowing unlawful conduct, let alone the fact that the judge did not raise red flags in such a high rate when he was that it was all jury, a red flag immediately. This cannot happen in the United States of America. The racism that is running rampant in the court system is absolutely disgraceful. This judge knew that he himself was breaking the law and Mr. Anthony was defending himself from 5 attackers. The parts of the video that people have not seen, and there are other videos out there from other kids that were recording, they will surface, believe you me. But there was enough there to prove that it was self-defense. God loves you.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it and come out. Oh, here, give me 1 second. So yeah, Big Ken, you heard what this man said, what he reported. The judge knew, they saw the evidence, they knew that this young man was attacked. They still allow for this unfair jury to prosecute this man. Give me your thoughts, man. Give me your opinion on this after hearing this. And were you able to hear it and see this video clearly?
Yeah, I seen that video. I think a couple days ago. But yeah, it's a lot of videos that have surfaced saying that it's evidence that there was 4 of them and they had him all on the bleachers. And I'm yeah, it was 5 of them. So I'm sure that this is really part 2 of our conversation about Karmelo Anthony, and I said it in the previous.
And I'm waiting on all the comments to come in. We got a few comments. He said this is AI.
Okay.
Nah, it ain't no AI. It's real shit. It's footage all over this internet of this same conversation that this man is having.
This part
so I want all the same people that came in that made their testimony, gave their comments. Where are they at now? This is definitely going to be fits for definitely being a mistrial. Not a mistrial, but a retrial. For the judge to know all this, and then for him to know all this, and then for him to been forced to step down, it just let you know in the beginning, man, this is why I say that the justice system is set up for Black America, and it has no regard for the lives of Black folks outside of the no regard for the lives of Black folks, I should say. He clearly was railroaded, and they clearly was going to try to let this shit slide, until a lot of this evidence has been leaked out. It's more footage, they say, to come. So I just wanted to come on and give my opinion, give my thoughts on that, and I want to give other people that came in here on the last show that we had. That was a pretty good show. We had a lot of over 200 and some comments, and mostly a lot of the comments were racist comment, people coming in making a lot of comments like how he should have gotten life and this, that, and the other, So I want to give those same people the opportunity to be able to come back in and defend this shit.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. So
yeah,
man, it's go ahead. I'll give you. I'll allow you to go ahead and talk for a little bit, Big Ken.
Okay. I just feel like I'm vindicated in what I was saying, that he did not get a fair trial. How can you have a fair trial with 7 Caucasians and 3 Chinese people, or and then expect for him to get a fair trial in Texas after we just seen a Chinese man go free on killing the black man. There's a lot of racist stuff going on, and the world's saying this. It's more than just black people saying that he didn't have a fair trial, and for the people that was hoping that he get 100 years and 30 wasn't enough, they was just being racist. They couldn't have felt that he got a fair trial when it wasn't amongst his peers. That's period, point blank. And sometimes it take a case like this to open up the world eyes, and the world can see
Hold
right
on, I
now
want
we
to make a
still
comment.
live.
I got a average Caucasoid made a comment. Juries don't prosecute. I didn't say the juries prosecute. The juries came back with a with a judgment, and that judgment was guilty, and like I said, with the new evidence, we know this shit was rigged in the beginning, and you always got racist motherfuckers coming in and making comments. But go ahead, Biggie, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I just had to say something to this idiot.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's a lot of racist people. They can't see past what the facts are. The boy was really defending himself at first before I even knew what the facts was. I felt like maybe he should have got some time, but now since I know the facts, it was flat out self-defense, and he should not get a day in prison at all. Period, point blank.
At
He
all.
needs a
In the
new.
beginning, I said, look, someone lost their life. I'm not I'm not saying that he should have walked away scot-free, but with this new evidence showing that he was surrounded, he was jumped. He definitely should have been found not guilty for protecting himself. It was the thing that we hear all the time from white officers or Caucasians saying that they fear for his life. Why couldn't he have not feared his life? He had the right to stand his ground and protect himself, and that's what he did. The video clearly shows that.
Yeah, so we going
Yeah,
I believe he'll be coming home. He'll be coming
point.
home real soon. Yeah, he'll be
Yeah,
coming home
because
real
again,
soon.
like I said, man, the video clearly showed clearly showed five guys walking up to that tent, and it clearly showed he was surrounded, and then it clearly showed that a scuffle was started.
That's it.
It's not about the
You
facts
know,
that we know; it's about the facts that we see.
that's it.
I mean, you got at D Manor and 8695 made a comment. He was jumped, laughing out loud. Are you still listening to the ped? I'm out here. You are whatever. I can't even. These motherfuckers just make ridiculous comments. But he said, "I'm out here. Y'all are losers." Okay, whatever. It is what it is. But the evidence, the video clearly shows what happened. He was jumped. He defended himself. Why? So okay. So why has the judge been asked to step down or been forced to step down? It was just a bunch of bullshit. A bunch of bullshit from the beginning. There was no blacks on this jury panel. The judge saw the evidence with this video. That's why they didn't want to show this on the news. That's why they pretty much shut the courtroom down. They didn't allow really pretty much no video evidence showing anything, and they wanted to quiet and hush this shit up. And they rushed this trial. But go ahead, Big Ken, give me your thoughts on this, man. You kind of
They
said it
had
in
a
the
verdict.
beginning
They
on the
had a
first
verdict.
show
They
that we
had a
did.
verdict. Yeah, they had a verdict with. They said one of the quickest verdicts that ever came out within less than an hour. So he was already. They had already had their minds made up. He was already hung, and they shaved the boy head and all kind of shit. You see what I'm saying? They had him already sent up the river. Period. Point
Man, it
blank.
was
So
a lot of stuff they did. Even the media was in on the shit, because it showed that it was a scuffle. They put his hands on him, and even Carmelo Anthony and his family even said that he had bruising and scars up. The social media went as far as photoshopping to make him look like he had no injuries and things in that nature, man. So it's been a lot of cover up. It's been a lot of unjust just that's been going on in this case, and the same thing in that the one case with the young man who was in that store. I was literally just watching that before this came through my feed, and I was like, you know what, I got to talk about this for a little bit. The Rick Chow case with the Asian man who shot the 14-year-old boy in the back, and that's another case that definitely needs to be relooked at.
There's no way that case shouldn't be relooked at. You shoot somebody in the back because if they stealing or whatever the case might be, what reason do you have to shoot somebody in the back? You tell me,
Right.
how do you beat that case?
Right. Listen, and this young man ran over 100 yards from what the evidence is showing, and they still allow for this father to shoot this young man in the back and for it to be a justified homicide. And I just watched a video of them on court and trial. The son who actually chased after the young man first, he even said it himself. The young man did not pose a threat. He was running away, but one thing he lied about, he said he had a gun, which I don't believe the young man had a gun at all.
I mean,
When finally went
let's
out
be
there
real
and
here.
secured the scene.
Let's be real here. I mean, I just said it. Racism still exists because before a jury to say that man was innocent from killing this man, from shooting him in the back, I would not want to be where this place is, because obviously they racist as fuck, and ain't no black young man or young woman or anybody of color gonna get a fair trial there. They definitely need to open that shit back up, because that man killed that young man. Period.
Yeah,
Point
that was
blank.
a
It got nothing
clear
to do with
cut case
it got nothing to do with color.
murder. No, at all.
If
So
if if listen, let me make an example. If I see your dog eating out my garbage can, do that give me the right to shoot him as he's running away?
no, not at all.
No. The dog was hungry. That's all I gotta say.
And I agree with you, man. At the end of the day, it's some racist shit. We've been set up from the beginning with this justice system. It shows no sympathy or no empathy. It clearly and the judge is clearly saw the evidence and really didn't give a fuck and went on ahead and let these juries pretty much convict this young man of murder, when it clearly shows that this young man was just put in a situation and was forced to protect himself. You know what I mean?
That's all it was. It was
Shadow
just
Man said there's going to be a lot of confusion tomorrow in the hood because of Father's Day. Yeah, I agree. We just did a little mini show talking about that. Talking about why is Father's Day not as celebrated, as Mother's Day, and probably in the hood. But yeah, tell me why you say that, Shadow Bear, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help your boy out. We are on the road to 1K subscribers. So, but yeah, give me your thoughts on this Karmelo Anthony trial, Shadow Bear. What do you think about all this new evidence? What do you think about the judge stepping down? What do you think about the videos that have been leaked about this young man being jumped and basically showing that he was really just defending himself? So Big Ken, again, I'll allow you to come back in, give me your thoughts and your opinion, on this shady ass law system, that we have here in the United States.
it's right now, this should let the world know that racism still exists. And it exists right here in our face with the internet, with videos and everything going on, with them showing people getting shot in the back, and you tell me that where in America is being shot in the back defending yourself or defending your property? Because somebody, even if you felt like this young man stole anything, what gives you the right to shoot him in his back
Yeah,
and kill him?
they are allowing motherfuckers like Rick Child to be the judge, jury, and executioner. That's why I say the justice system here in America has no regard for the lives of African American. Because they allow shit like this to happen. Shadow Bear made another comment. He said, even if you're divorced, you should still be in your children's life. Oh, okay. He was talking about the whole Father's Day thing. Yeah, I agree 100%. But in today's show, we just said the statement that I made. It said it seems like Mother's Day is always celebrated a little bit more. That, and that probably stems from fathers not being in the household. But you still should be in your kid's life. I agree. But Shadow Bear, give me your thoughts on the topic that we're talking about now with this Karmelo Anthony trial case. What do you think about the evidence that was leaked out showing that these 5 young men surrounded him, jumped him first, and Carmelo Anthony was really just defending himself. Give me your thoughts on that. So Big Ken, man, it shows that this law, the American justice system, this law system is not it's pretty much set up and it's rigged. In situations like that, when we're facing charges like this young man Carmelo Anthony was facing, we had to go against judge, the prosecutor, and a pretty much all white jury. Man, give me your thoughts on that. We're pretty much set up from the beginning, from the judge, from the from the prosecutor and the jury that came back and pretty much convicted this man.
I'm gonna tell you like this. I use a Tupac statement all the time. It's all a setup. You got to keep your head up because they definitely set that young man up. Like I said, they hung him. There was no way that he was gonna get nothing but a guilty verdict. And to the people that's watching this, I'm gonna say it again, and a lot of white people know this. If it would have been reverse roles, white and black, and it would have been the white man that killed the black man, he would have got off. Not only would he not got no time, he would have got off. They know that. So what we speaking about, they understand it. It's just that, it's white on black, and we've been, on the bottom of the barrel for so long. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people say, "What's one more black person?" This shit got to stop. That's what I'm saying. It got to stop. I'm one of the people out here that give a fuck about the next generation and the generation behind them. So that's what I got to say.
And most whites know what's going on, man. They see the injustice, just like you said, man. Who do not see, and they allow it to go on with these cops, mainly with these cops, man. With the Ryan Hinton situation, with the young man who was shot in the back by Rick Child. Clearly, these men had posed no threat. So the justice system is allowing for black men and women, because we just recently did a case where you had a black woman who was shot in the head for holding a pot of hot water. You know what I mean? So, like I said, man, the justice system has no regard for black lives. And it's been showing through all these trials and court proceedings that we've been watching, dealing with, with black lives.
I feel like that. Would they make any money if it wasn't for locking up African Americans? And, let's
at the
get a
truth
poll
first,
on
she
that.
said you saw him getting jumped. Yeah, the video showed him getting jumped. Then he also made another comment. There would be riots in the street. Oh, maybe he's talking about if it was on the if it was on the other shoe on the foot. If it was a white man who was found who was shot in the back. Yeah, it definitely would be
Oh my
riots on the
God! If
street.
they reverse this, it might be a civil war. I'm trying to tell y'all, it's not far fetched from the truth. If they reverse this,
And I wouldn't doubt it, but man, they would just have to suck this shit up like how we've been sucking shit
oh
up,
yeah, they
watching
would have
a
to
lot of
suck
our
it up. But
men and women get shot and
I
murdered.
mean,
That's all. I don't think it will be a civil war. I just think they would see some justice being done throughout a lot of this unjust shit that's been going on, throughout our lifetime. I'm 50 years old, and it's rare that I see cases like this go in the favor of our people, unless it's just a clear cut, that and a lot of these shit are clear cut murders, and they really just don't give a fuck. So that's why
yeah,
I say we got to do a better job at taking, justice into our own hand. And what I mean by that is trying to get more blacks on these jury systems, more black prosecutors, and even still, even one more important thing, black judges sitting on these benches, that's overseeing and presiding, and letting a lot of evidence not being put in, because this is what this judge did. He allowed for a lot of evidence that the defense team had not to be allowed for the jurors to hear. And that went on in that Rick Child case too, man. So, at the end of the day, like I said, this justice system, this law system is not designed or set up for us to win, especially if we're not coming in there with top notch legal team.
Yeah, you better not go in there with no court appointed. You see what that'll get you.
Yeah, man. Yep. See, and that's what's
That'll
been
get
going on
that'll
with a
get
lot
you
of our
sent up
people,
for
man. We'll
different.
get railroaded from 21 Jump Street if you come in there with a court appointed lawyer. That's for
Don't
Jump
do
Street.
it.
If you come in
Don't
there, if
do
you come to court with a court appointed lawyer, you're convicted. You know what I mean? Because they're not
it.
playing that. They want to see
Period,
you
point blank.
spend some of that money into this court system.
That's it. They
That's
wouldn't
it.
make no money
So
if it wasn't for African Americans. You hear me? They wouldn't make no money in the prison system if it wasn't for us. I'm sorry. I believe we 80% of the incarcerated.
oh man, that's a fact. By us being by them locking majority of our youth and our men up, that supplies job for majority of the Caucasians that's working in the law system. They've made jobs for they put in place for jobs for Caucasians that let me reroute this. They invented jobs for the negative things that we do and we get locked up for, from COs to POs um to officers and things like that, to probation officers and things like that, man. These jobs were invented to oversee us, and these jobs were invented and put in place. Do you guys know that I believe that the government was just sued by the jail system for not being able to produce, and I'm probably not wording it right verbatim, but not being able to produce inmates for the system. They sued the system. So that
Yes.
what I'm trying to say is it's a
It's a bit.
system that's set up for us to be locked up in these prisons and these jails.
Yeah. Yeah, they sued the prison system. The prison system sued. I don't know, who they sued, but it
I
wasn't
believe it
enough
was
inmates.
I forget how it went, but yeah, they sued them because it was not enough inmates. The crime was actually low, in that state, I believe. It was crazy. I'm like, wow. So they blatantly
And
like telling us and showing us that this is and we know this. We know it's a business. They get paid. Because look, if crime is down, it's going to put a lot of people out of work. You won't have COs. You won't have POs. If no one is committing crimes and going jails, judges will lose their jobs. Sheriffs will lose their jobs, bailiffs, things like that. So that's why I meant, man, like there's they have positions for every one of these guys set up throughout the law system. And a lot of those faces are white faces. And that's why I say, man, this law system is and this justice system is not even. It's uneven and it's blind when it comes to us. Definitely.
and basically the facts that you stating, because they are facts. It's not racist. It's just facts. You have to address that, because a lot of people watching would say they it's Carmelo and this that and we know what it is. What's understood don't have to be talked about.
And I'm probably saying the name wrong. Roginson said, so they have an incentive to make sure that they still tag us with the 13th Amendment. And I would have to look up the 13th Amendment to see exactly what you're talking about. So, but yeah, man, they definitely have an agenda to make sure that they're keeping blacks locked up, to keeping these prison systems, going and operating. We definitely know that. For sure. And that's what they're trying to catch Carmelo Anthony up in. This young man was a 3.8 student, never had any criminal history in his life, was attending a track meet. It was raining that day. Everybody was they even had tornado warnings going on in the area, and it was actually raining that day. And they had to stop the event. This young man was up under a tent looking for cover. This group of white boys or young men surrounded him, jumped him, and this man protected himself, and that was it. There's no way, unless this like I said, unless this law system, this jury system, the whole court system is rigged, there's no way that a jury of his peers, which we know it wasn't his peers, we need to stop saying that, because what we mean to saying peers is people that look like us.
If it was.
Yeah, but it wasn't. So what I mean is, how could this jury possibly come back which the jury didn't even get a chance to see a lot of the
Yeah, my
evidence that
phone
we're
just
talking
went
about
off.
now, Big Ken. So that's why I say that's why the judge was taken
It's
down,
cool.
or he was forced to step down. So yeah, man. I'll allow you to give more of your thoughts on this. It's just we've been railroaded from the beginning. It's always set up to railroad us. Unless you come in there with a dream team. Skeeter Man 218 said abolish slavery, and let me go back to the comment. Skeeter Man 218 said abolish slavery and involuntary servitude across the nation. Okay, what do you think about that, Ken? Look like a Big Ken is having a little technical difficulties. Nathan outside said, "Why do I see so many blacks on here whining about things that are even true? What's not true? This what I'm talking about has been all over social media. And the things that we're talking about unfair fair justice system in the U.S. is black. That's definitely true. So what do you have to say about that? What defense do you have about the Rick Child case, about the 14-year man, that the 14-year-old young running out of the store, walked out of the store and then was chased, shot in the back, and that young man and the owner of that store was found that shooting was justified. Give me your thoughts on that. And I don't think you would have a credible news stories reporting that if it's not true. You just get, what do you mean? I asked you a question. So what I mean is I was talking about the Rick Child case. What do you think about the 14-year-old boy who walked out of the store and was chased out and was shot in the back? We're not making that up. And that was just, we're talking pretty much about how unjust this law system is for blacks here in America. Okay, and Nathan outside said, I don't know the ins and outs of this case, but I'm sure there's more than to it. Yes, it is. No, the young man, there was not a gun found. That was a lie. And then he never once turned around to even brandish a gun. He was shot in the fucking back. These are the excuses and these are the things that they use to say, even the police officers, these are things that they say and lie to get away with when these things go to court, and when the jury hear a gun, it automatically trigger that they're guilty. But in some he was a 14-year-old man, but it's not illegal to have a gun when you're over 18 or you have a CCW. But in this case, no, this young man was just running away. And that's what killed me when they be talking about he had a gun. It's not illegal to have a gun, but what it is illegal is to shoot a man in the back that ain't away. Because if you hear of cases of black men shooting white men in the back, and we're claiming that we fear for our life, listen, how many convictions do you think that we would win or will be overturned? And that's what we're talking about here today, the unjust. Give this man a fair trial. This man clearly was protecting himself, and he had the right to do that. Especially if the video that we saw, that everyone saw, is true, which it is. Everything that says that black person is guilty, it's just a lie. What do you mean by that? I'm not gonna say everything, but a lot of this bullshit. I'm just kind of like I'm not understanding what you meant about that one. You know what, boy? People Yeah, but you know, most of the shit that they and I agree, most of the shit that they put up about you know, black people in the media when we're going through these cases do be lies. Nathan outside said black people will kill white every day in high numbers. You know how many times black have gotten off for beating white people to death? It's a fewer every year. Show me the facts on that. You know, because I have not, and I've been doing this for a few years. I have not seen no black men getting off for beating white men. You know, so I mean that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but you got to show me the facts on that. You know, because it's hard to convict a black man for beating a white man and walking away. You know, this would have been all over the news. No, that's not true. I'm stating facts. That's evidence that's coming from court. You know, you know, give me some evidence. You know, we can roll with that. You know, but we really see it, man, every day. You know, what like I said, with these recent court cases that we had, with the Rick Child shooting a young man in the back, Ryan Hinton situation, getting shot in the back. You know, I can go on and on. You know, I can talk about the woman who was shot in the head for holding a pot of boiling water. You know, there's no regards for black you know, you know, because if it did, it would be an outrage to you guys too. Yeah, if you watch the video, you wouldn't even say that. You know, because if you got five people surrounding you and jumping you, you have the right to defend yourself. You know, but yeah, man, you know, hopefully, you know, these are going to be things that's going to get this young man a retrial. Is definitely going to be deserved. You know, especially you know, with all this footage being leaked out and a lot of this information being leaked. You know, this young man was, you know, railroad. I don't think that day when he went out there, he set out to take someone's life. You know, and this is what you got to look at. You know, the charges. This young man did not go out there. You know, now I'm not saying that he was innocent, but the decision that they came back with was not, you know, was over. I think they were overdoing it with just two young men fighting. A young man got stabbed. I'm quite sure this young man did not intend to take that man's life. He said, "You're Rando Cheek said you're no better than a Klan member back in the 50s and 60s, just a different color." Tell me why you say that. I'm showing the unjust of how this court system treats blacks here in America. You know, and the difference between me and them motherfuckers was cowards. You know, I don't have nothing, no hood over my face. I'm showing my face. So I'm far from a Klan, my guy. You know, it was a bunch of white cowards, and that's all they are. You know, white cowards. You know, same thing with the police. Most of the police, cowards. You know, who shoots motherfuckers in the back? Who shoots women in the head? I'm not defending a murderer. I'm defending a motherfucker who's defending himself and end up killing someone in the act of defending himself. Listen, and this is what you white motherfuckers need to realize. If Austin Metcalf would have had conflict if he would have had conflict, I don't forgot the word, you motherfuckers, but if he would have had self-control and walked away, he would still be alive. I don't think Carmelo Anthony asked for Austin Metcalf to come over there and start this shit. You know what I mean? He should have went and got an adult. He should have went and got higher authority, and he would have still be alive today. You know, you're more around, you know, for even saying this dumb shit. At the end of the day, Eric Metcalf, not Eric Metcalf, but Austin Metcalf caused his own death. You know, and that's real talk. If you want me to be real, I'm just trying to be political correct, you know, but that motherfucker should have kept his hands to himself. He got what he was coming. You know, like I said, at the end of the day, this young man was protecting his life. I don't think he went out there to kill this young man, but it happened. You know, and just like how we see cops shoot blacks in the back all the time, and they walk away with justified homicides, you know, this young man should have not got no more than, you know, manslaughter or criminal negligence or some shit like that. Because if it was a white guy who stabbed a black guy and he stabbed a black guy, Gordon likely. And put it this way, if it was on the other the shoe was on the other foot, motherfucker would have walked away. Especially with the jury that he had. So at the end of the day, man, it should be a lesson learned. You motherfuckers always trying to direct and trying to tell people what to do. We are not, and he's probably getting this shit from his father or from learned behavior. You motherfuckers got to stop thinking that you're someone's father, or you can tell people what to do. It's the same thing that we see with these Karens all on TV, trying to boss people around, telling people what to do, trying to remove people from areas that they have the right to be in. And he got what he was dealt. And that's it. And, at the end of the day, if that young man would have kept his hands to himself, or really would have minded this, we wouldn't even be talking about this bullshit. But, at the end of the day, he could not control himself. He could not control himself. And hey, he fucked around and found out, is what Karmelo Anthony said, I guess. And then let me rewind this back, because we got a few comments that's been coming in. I've been trying to ignore a lot of haters, racist motherfuckers have been making comments, but yeah, he got what he was dealt, and that's it. And so did Karmelo. He played the cards that he was dealt. That motherfucker came over there, thought he was going to surround him. They thought they was going to give him the business, and it didn't work out in their favor. And now you motherfuckers is upset and mad, and that's what happened. Like a lot of the young men and women that we see get murdered, we have to suck it up and swallow that shit. And I suggest you motherfuckers do the same thing. Because at the end of the day, whether he get a retrial or not, guess what? Karmelo Anthony is coming home. I don't think Austin Metcalf will be coming back home. And I hate to say that, and I hate to sound cruel, but when you got racist motherfuckers coming in the comments saying stupid, retarded shit, without even looking at the facts and trying to understand where we're coming from. We see this shit all the time. So he stood up for himself, and that's what happened. Keep your motherfucking hands to yourself. Simple. And we wouldn't even be in here talking about this shit. I would be talking about something else. You know what I mean? But like I said, we're pretty much talking about what happened, in this justice system, man. With this judge, withholding evidence from the jury, and all that shit. So hopefully at the end of the day, man, this young man, gets another trial and a fair trial. Come on in. I'll debate you anytime. You hit me up. Send me your email right now, and you can come on in. We ain't gotta wait. Send me your email, and I'll bring you on in. Yeah, they are racist, man. Listen, that's why I say at the end of the day, we have to start taking justice into our own hands. Karmelo did that, and I'm not condoning violence, but look, that should teach a lesson to the next group of motherfuckers who think that they're going to try to put themselves in a position to harm another black man. Whether he was black, white, don't put yourself in a position where things like this can happen. And that's what Austin Metcalf did. I don't condone anything. I just condone, don't put your motherfucking hands on somebody, because at the end of the day, you don't know what that person is capable of doing. I think Austin Metcalf condoned his own death. Real talk, if y'all really think about it, he condoned that shit on his own. Because he probably didn't take the stand because his stupid attorney, well, I won't even say that, but his unworthy attorney, advised him not to. And like, and these comments are coming in fast, so I'm trying to read everybody's comments, but I can't. But like the one comment said, like it or not, keep your hands to yourself. Watermelon felon, it's plenty more of y'all motherfuckers that's felon than we are, and I'm quite sure whites like watermelon too. They kill me with that bullshit. Listen, what do you call Austin Metcalf? A push can be answered with a stabbing, even if the dude didn't die. Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, man, that motherfucker should have kept his hands to himself at the end of the day. I'm not condoning anyone should have I wish that young man would have not lost his life, because at the end of the day, we lost a great young man. This was a 3.8 student. This young man even saved a young white man's life, I believe, off of a bus. He was a caring young man, a young man who had a future. I promise you, I wish this wouldn't happen, because he was a young black man that was going to do something of and make something of himself. But on the other hand, it's Austin Metcalf, man. We heard a lot of negative about him, that he was already in trouble, bully. Him and his brothers were bullies and things like that. But on the other hand, Karmelo Anthony was an outstanding young man, kept himself out of trouble, and never had any trouble until that day. Yeah, and at the end of the day, Melo should have been left alone. But like I said, a lot of these comments that's been coming in, we see racist attitude that you guys have when we're just trying to stand behind a young man that we thought that was protecting ourselves. So look, man, at the end of the day, we have to, like I said, continue to take justice into our own hands. And what I really mean by that is trying to make sure that we get more blacks on these rigged jury systems, rigged court systems. We have to get more judges on these benches, more black prosecutors. Because when we're sitting in these courts, these juries, these judges or prosecutors have no sympathy or empathy when our young men and women sit and preside in front of them. So that's at the end of the day, man. Like I said, it's a system that's set up, that's feeding this prison system. So it's always set up for, more than likely, for us to do some type of jail time, for them to feed this prison system. So therefore, man, we have to have a little bit more of people that look like us that will have a little sympathy and empathy, because that's what you whites get, when you go to court. And most of the times you motherfuckers be just as guilty as we do. But when you're sitting in front of your peers, what I mean is white juries, white judges and prosecutors, they sometimes seem to take shit a little easy or a little light on you motherfuckers. And that's all that blacks is pretty much trying to say with this whole Karmelo Anthony case, but with the new evidence coming out, man, with the judge withholding evidence and shit like that, at the end of the day, it looks like this young man was just protecting himself. But that's what most blacks mean at the end of the day. Have some empathy, some sympathy, because this young man did not set out that day. He was out there for a track meet. These young men produced this situation to him. They put him in a situation where he had to pretend himself. Imagine five big imagine five big black motherfuckers surrounded, a white boy that's like 5'10". These motherfuckers like 6'1", and I can't say how the other three was, but we know twins were, at least 6 foot, over 200 pounds. Imagine being approached by that, and you're, I think like 5'10", 160 or something like that. They said Karmelo Anthony was. You got to do what the fuck you got to do, because at the end of the day, now what if they would have beat the fuck out of him or took his life? Would you motherfuckers have been saying that shit? No. So at the end of the day, he did what he had to do, because I would rather for him to be doing the 35 years or to be dead, like the motherfucker who started the shit is. And that's really the truth and the facts of this shit. But whites don't want to face the facts or the reality of the crooked and evil shit that they do to us. That's why we get all these racist ass fucking comments. Because you motherfuckers don't never want to own up to the motherfucking wrongdoings that you do to us. And when that shit comes back, and when we try to do it the right way and go to court, and this shit still comes back, with some bullshit, So look, so that's what most blacks are meaning. They're just trying to stand behind this young man because at the end of the day, this young man was railroaded. Yep. So I'm gonna try to zoom in so I can see all the comments. You're a racist potty mouth center. Far from racist, man. And most blacks can't be racist anyway. So learn your shit. I don't think I don't think I have the power to change anything for me to be racist. I'm a realist, and most of you are not realists. Most of you are fake. You lie, you hide behind this crooked ass law system that we got here, but one day our people is gonna, get better at these juries, getting behind these getting in these judges, these seats, these panels, man. More prosecutors, man. You hate what I love. I love all people. It's your motherfucking people that actually put this whole race in basically in this shit. I don't look at people as race. I look at people as people, but you show your character and race, and then I'll judge you. Yeah, that would have been okay. Well, come on in. Those the Joseph would have been is to fight it out. Not would have, but he got jumped. So I'm not about to fight it out, motherfuckers. He did what he had to do, and he did what he needed to do. You, Joe, and you gonna keep it real, Joe. You not about to fight with 5 motherfuckers. You gonna gun out. You probably would have gun and shot that motherfucker. So stop it. Come on in. I'm about to send you an invite. If that's the Joe that I'm talking about. Because I know I know you ain't about to fight with five motherfuckers. So at the end of the day, man, look, it is what it is. We're up against the everything with this court system, with the jury, the judges, the prosecutors behind the gun, man, and I think most blacks will agree with me on this, and most whites that really will too. It's a system that's pretty much set up for us to lose and fail. At the end of the day. Because his defense probably told him not to speak. That's probably why we have not heard from Karmelo Anthony. But yeah, I think I sent you an invite, Joe. So come on in, man. Goddamn well you're not gonna be sitting up there fighting with 5 motherfuckers. You're gonna pull out whatever you got to defend yourself. And for white motherfuckers to that and say that, y'all the quickest motherfuckers to pull out a gun. And I'll give you a easy example. The police officer, they are the most cowardice motherfuckers in the world. You will never see them going hand to hand with no motherfucker. They're gonna pull out that gun and they're gonna shoot your ass. Perfect example. But like I said, those are the most cowards I know that I've been seeing. You'll never see them motherfuckers go hand with somebody. You know why? I'm going to get their ass, and we know it, and you know it. And that's a fact. Oh, send me your email, and you'll get it. You want in? Send me your email. I got. Yeah, but look, we've been on here for 53 minutes, man. I need for you guys to hit the subscribe button. Your boy is knocking on the door of 1,000 subscribers. This is the goal that we set out 2 years ago when we started. I cannot do without you guys hit that subscribe button. And I want to thank everybody who has hit that subscribe button thus far. It's been helping the channel. It's been helping get out there. These YouTube algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, I should say. But yeah, man. I love being able to, come on here and entertain you guys, even though we get a lot of, especially when and I understand that you're all get a lot of negative comments, especially when you're dealing with race. But you white folks gotta remember this. We didn't establish, this whole racial bullshit. Your people did, and they did to divide shit, because at the end of the day, this shit's money. Us being divided, us being at each other's throat, us being throwing hatred towards each other. At the end of the day, what that shit do is generate money for the system that we're all living in. You know, because what whites fail to realize is you motherfuckers were enslaved by our own selves. You motherfuckers just couldn't make it out there in the fields. You made weak slaves. You know, most of all, you motherfuckers was just walking off the field because you were white. You know, but mainly you motherfuckers couldn't make it out there. You was dying in the sun because of the sun was still at what it naturally does. You know, that's why you motherfuckers were the first slaves, because you wasn't strong enough. You know, and that's just real talk. Go look up your research and do your history. You know, when you want to talk that slave shit too. You know, why haven't we still heard from Karmelo Anthony? I keep saying it. You know, more than likely his lawyers told him not to talk. You know, but I guarantee you, if they're going to be a retrial, you'll probably hear him talk. You know, but we see this in a lot of trials. Most offenders don't talk. You know, so that's probably why. Yeah, at New Balance One, put your email in the comments and I can bring you in. Yeah, so at the end of the day, man, it definitely, you know, and I said this in the first show that we did when we were talking about this. At the end of the day, this should be a lesson learned for young men, you know, including white young men too, you know, because at the end of the day, these young white men got this whole situation started. They had no conflict resolution, you know, and it's something that I really want to, you know, get across to my young black men, you know, because we have a lot of this going on, you know, in our community towards each other, you know, and we got to get past this shit. You know, we're fighting and we're killing, you know, other for all the wrong reasons, you know, and we got to get ahead of that, and we got to get a control of that, you know, and only thing that only how that can happen is through conflict resolution. You have to know how to be able to talk your way out of a situation. You know, and that's what Austin Metcalf really didn't do. And I'm not going to say Karmelo Anthony do that, you know, because I'm quite sure he probably tried to talk to those guys, you know, kindly, and tried to talk his way out of that situation, but before being faced with 5 men. You know, you guys got to excuse me. I'm probably talking a little fast and my mouth is a little dry, and I'm a little hoarse for having a debated conversation last night. But yeah, man, you got to realize, you know, this young man was put in a situation where he had to protect his life. He probably was looking at it like either you or me, but I'm quite sure, you know, because it was just a little pocket knife. We've all had, and this is something that folks try to make it in the media do. They try to make it seem like he had a knife, like it was a big ass Jason knife. No, it was from what we're hearing from the court proceedings. It was a regular like Boy Scout pocket knife, like fishing knife. You know, and most whites carry this all the time. You know, I'm quite sure Karmelo and Anthony and his brother probably had one. They just didn't think to pull it out. You know, luckily Karmelo Anthony did, you know, because if not, hey, it could have been him. You know, but at the end of the day, like I said, the lesson learned on this, keep your motherfucking hands to yourself. That's it. You know, because Karmelo Anthony had the right to defend himself. I'm not saying that he deserves to walk away because he did take a man's life. You know, but if it comes back that he was jumped and he was defending his life, hey, self-defense. We see it all the time. We see it all the time when our people is being judged. You know, so yeah, man, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm not going to say I don't have any sympathy or empathy for this young man, because I do, you know, because it could have been on us other too. You know, it could have been one of our sons or kids. And, you know, and I will say this about Joe, you know, he brought that side of it too. Yeah, it could have been our son, you know, and we would have been, you know, yeah, we would have been in an outrage, you know, who would have not, you know, if their son or child dies. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, we have to teach our children not to put your motherfucking hands on somebody, because in situations like this, your life can be taken. You know, so it starts at home first. We have to instill this in our children. We have to his mind. Look, you can't go around putting your hands on people because and this is going to be a perfect example. This video, this court case, this should be talked about for years to come, to show young people, and even adults, but mainly young people, far as with conflict resolution. This should be a learning advice, learning video utensil used for youth to be able to have conflict resolutions. Therefore, hopefully we'll never have another situation like this ever again. But like I said, man, conflict resolution is something that we definitely needs to preach more often, to our children. And it's not just a thing, as we see, because these young white men had no conflict resolution when they approached this young man. This young man was under the tent looking for cover when this incident happened. So you whites have to be real with yourself. This young man, just imagine 5 big black motherfuckers approaching a scrawny white boy, and then actually starting some shit with him. We know how the outcome would have been in court if this white boy would have stabbed one of the black men up that approached him and got some shit started. It would have been self-defense. The young man would have been going home. And it's nothing we would have been able to do about it but suck it up, like we've been doing, my entire life when I see, situations and like this happen. But with the whole hand hitting situation, his father had to take situations into his own hand, and I'm not mad at him, because at the end of the day, that young man was running away and got shot in the motherfucking back and was found not guilty. That's horrible. Can you imagine seeing some shit like that? Being a father and seeing your son being shot in the back. No wonder he did. I'm not going to say no wonder he did what he did, but anybody probably would have lost their mind, and went out and took it on the first motherfucker law person that you see, because over and over that we see in this law system that we've been seeing for years, that whites get away from clearly, I'm saying, they fear for their life, shooting and killing blacks. So when we see a situation like this, where you have a young black man trying to defend himself against a group of white boys, and he get away unscathed, and then we hand this shit over to the court system, and they still, that's why the fuck we talking up and we speaking up, as we should. Because I'm telling you, you white mother have no problem. You will stand behind a motherfucker that's guilty. Just because he's white, so you can't get mad at black or, wanting to stand up behind this young man, because we've been railroaded over so many, situations over the years. It's ridiculous. So that's why I say, black folks, man, we have to do a better job. We have to take justice into our own hands by putting more people on this jury system, by trying to get more of our youth into law, more black judges, more black prosecutors. That's how we're getting railroaded. We're losing in that part of the game. That's where they're beating us at. So if anything, we have to, look at ourselves when it comes to situations like that, especially with these jury systems. We can't get mad at anybody else, but ourselves for not being responsible enough to be to be a juror. A lot of us run away from being on the jury. We got to stop that, because it hurts us in the end. And we see what happens when there's not a lot of us on these jury systems, when we're being judged by pretty much all white jurors, and you're not going to win. And that's just a fact. Bob Ian said this guy was happy when OJ got away with double murder. The facts show that the facts show he didn't have nothing to do with that murder. I wasn't happy. I stood behind him. Yes. Just like how you probably stood behind Nicole and the other white motherfucker that was stabbed up in that situation. Yes, I did. Why wouldn't I stand up? Because there was really no evidence saying that OJ had nothing to do with that. I agree, Joseph. The white guy should have went to jail too, But all the other white guys, the other 4 white guys that was out there, the brother, and the other guys that was with them should have went to jail. They actually should have been charged. Listen, and that's crazy. They should have been charged with accessories because this is what they do to blacks when we go out there and commit crimes and there's people with us and someone dies, even if it's on the other side, they charge them with murder too. Why? So this is what we need to start asking and bringing up. Why aren't the guys that were out there who jumped him? They need to be facing some charges too. But yeah, man, with that whole OJ thing, man, even you even had a lot of racist shit going on in that with the detectives and shit like that, man. So, but at the end of the day, man, listen, it's always gonna be a racial divide, amongst us, and you got to remember who started that racial divide bullshit. Your people. Your people is the one who started with this hating, and just all the negative stuff that we talk about that went on, and that goes on in the lives of blacks when they're faced when they're amongst whites or amongst police and things like that. Yep. So look, man, it's been an hour and 6 minutes we've been on here, man. I just want to come on here and talk about that for a little bit, man. It's definitely been a good conversation. I definitely love all the comments. I bring on all the comments. But yeah, like if anytime you guys want to come on here, all you got to do is just put your email in the comment and I'll be able to bring you on. And I don't know if that's Joseph knows. I see Joseph making comments, but I don't know if that's my guy, Joe. But all man, at the end of the day, only thing I think most blacks want, man, is for things to be fair. And you whites just got to be honest about shit. Listen, we wouldn't even complain about a lot of shit. Like if you motherfuckers just really, just be honest about a lot of shit that how unjust this justice system is towards us, how unfair that it is that this justice system allow for our young men and women to be shot and killed and they can walk away with no jail time or minimum jail time. We've been seeing this since I've been seeing this go on since my lifetime. The unjust of this United Snakes of America. So like I said, man, we have to do more. We have to do more of taking justice into our own hand. And what I mean by that, man, is getting more people involved in these in this court system, from the jurors, from the judges to the prosecutors on down. Because at the end of the day, man, like I said, it's a system that's set up to, keep us locked up, keep money going to these judges, to these prosecutors, to these lawyers, to these COs, to the POs. We're feeding the whole system. We're feeding this entire law system from the top to the bottom. And once we realize that's what's going on, we're getting railroaded, to feed this system, and just trying to get out here, man, and do the right things. That's really what it is at the end of the day. Trying to live right, live your life right, trying to be honest, and a lot of this stuff, this court system shit, will be null and void. But look, man, I'm not going to hold you guys up long. And again, I need for you guys to hit that subscribe button. Your boy is closing down again on 1,000 subscribers. It's a goal that I set out, and we getting ready to knock it down. I can only do it by you guys hitting that subscribe button. Yep. So I want to thank everybody who came in here, made a comment. I try to look at all the comments during the show, but it's impossible to read every single comment. So, I will go back after the show and read the comments and make comments, after that. But again, I want to thank everybody for coming on to the show. We're probably going to we're going to do a show tomorrow too on Father's Day. I want to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. We did a show earlier talking about Father's Day, and it was a good conversation, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth, a little bit more in deep in tomorrow's conversation. So again, I want to wish everybody happy Father's Day out there, And again, I want to thank everybody for their comments, who made comments. And then I want to thank everybody who hit that subscribe button. And again, for everybody who's watching over there on Facebook, please do your boy a favor. Come on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and then you can come back on Facebook and watch me. But it's going to only how it's going to help me out is for you guys to go over there and hit that button. We're trying to make sure that we can continue to try to bring you guys good news, entertainment, and just at the end of the day, and just educate you guys on what's going on, out here in this world. So look, I want to thank everybody who made comments, and if you guys want to come on in, and I'm not gonna say debate, but if you have comments or different opinions, come on in. Don't be afraid to put your email in the comment section. You can come on in and chop it up with your boy. I invite everybody who wants to come in. That's what we about over here on the What Up Though show. I will invite anybody who wants to come in and talk, because it's always good to have a conversation. A great open conversation is always something good to have. I try to stay away from really politics and religion. Those are two touchy subjects that a lot of people, just get touchy about, get emotional about, I should say, but I see I got comments coming in, but they're not popping up. Okay, there we go. New Balance lies. What's lies, New Balance? Yeah, but look, man, like I said, I appreciate all the comments that you guys been making. Hopefully you guys reciprocated the love back by hitting that subscribe button. I appreciate everybody who made a comment. It's another one. It's your boy Dan MD. And again, happy Father's to all the fathers out there, man. That's what it's about. Trying to be a dad, trying to make sure that you're even if you're not in the same household, as your children, you still are a father. So, make sure we continue to be great fathers, great leaders, and just putting positive and putting great thoughts in our children's head. Therefore, when they're able to go out in this world, they can go out there with the mindset to be ready to win, to face this world, the reality of this world, man. We have to be straight up and real with our children about, what goes on in this world with this racism, and just how, we're behind the 8 ball, and, we have to work a lot harder to try to make sure that we stay on top of our shit, So at the end of the day, man, I want to thank everybody who made a comment. Like I said, I invited a few guests to come in. I think Big Ken came in. He was having a few technical difficulties. I want to thank him for coming in and dropping his little information. But look, this was a good one. We've been on here for 1 hour and 12 minutes. I just wanted a lot of people to come in who because we had a great show on the first time we talked about this. Had a lot of people who was coming in making a lot of negative comments about this young man, how he should have gotten life to death penalty and things like that. When this was an innocent young man, a 3.8 student, had his full life ahead of him, was not looking for this incident, and this shit happened to him. So this all goes back to conflict resolution. I wish Austin Metcalf parents would have taught him that, because if they would have, that young man would still be alive to this day. So, you whites, don't look at Karmelo Anthony, look at Austin Metcalf. He was the instigator of this situation. He started this whole situation because he didn't have conflict resolution. He tried to be a Karen, and he tried to take this situation. He tried to put this situation in his own hand. He thought he was going to be the judge and the juror, but at the end of the day, Karmelo was the executioner, and he lost his life. So look, it's been another one. It's your boy Dan D, and I am out. Peace.